We all know that owning a small business means you wear many hats, but sometimes you really need an extra pair of hands. Upwork is how good companies find great and trusted freelance talent. With more than 2 decades of experience, with the simple and ambitious goal of pioneering a better way of working, companies at every stage turn to Upwork to get things done and find more flexibility in staffing key projects and initiatives. They access a global marketplace filled with top talent in IT, web dev, marketing, and more. Posting a job on Upwork is easy. With no cost to join, you can register, browse freelancer profiles, and get help drafting a job post or even book a consultation. From there, you connect with freelancers that get you and can easily hire them and take your business to the next level. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's Upwork.com to post your job for free and connect with top talent ready to help your business grow. That's UPWORK.com, Upwork.com.
Lowe's knows that free makes everything better. That's why our rewards members get free standard shipping on the things they need and want, starting at Silver Key status every day. Savings for rewards members add up fast, so why wait? Join for free today. Lowe's, we help, you save. Not available in Alaska and Hawaii. Exclusions and more terms apply. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/shipping terms. Subject to change.
Looking for these better days.
It is Friday, September 12th. I'm Scott Seidenberg. Here's what you need to know to make today a better day. It is Football Friday, Part 1, as we have 2 episodes on each Football Friday. Part 1 dedicated to the NFL. Part 2 is all college football. Joining me here on Part 1 as we talk NFL is Jared Smith. And Jared, last night on Thursday Night Football, it was the Packers dominating pretty much the Commanders. Final score was a little closer than the game because the Commanders did score late, and actually the back door was open. They had the ball with a chance to score under 2 minutes here. 27-18, the final score, as the Packers cover the 3.5-point line. And I can't tell you how many people hit me up in my mentions last night, laughing at me or criticizing my trends that talked about how the sharp play here was on the Commanders and how, I should have paid attention to Thursday nights. The home teams win on Thursday nights. Or how could I not know that the Packers were a better team than the Commanders? Here's what you have to understand. It's not about who's a better team or not. It's about the situation, and it's about taking advantage of the market. And if I can get a 3.5 in an NFL game that closes at 3 pretty much everywhere in the market, 1, I'm happy about it. 2, if I can take an underdog in a spot where traditionally underdogs have dominated, I'm going to be happy about it. Now, did the game go our way? No. And you know what? That's going to happen. It happens all the time. The greatest sports bettors in the world lose all the time. Calm down. It's Thursday. It's week 2. All right? Now, let's talk about that game last night, Jared. Total domination by the Green Bay Packers. At times, and I kept on tweeting this out, it looked like the Commanders were unprepared. It looked like Jaden Daniels, some of these throws were really non-competitive. And the Packers from start to finish were just on a different level. What did you notice watching that game last night, and now that you've had a little bit of time to kind of go back and reassess some things?
Packers front seven's elite. Absolutely elite. Total nails. Only a fool would trade away Micah Parsons in his prime. Only a fool. He got back Mr. Jones, a bag of beans, and a few, magic melons, perhaps, that will, bear fruit later. I don't know. That dude gets off the ball with energy and enthusiasm. He is an impressive pass rusher. And the scheme fits him because they have 2 linebackers behind him that are just very downhill linebackers that can really tackle in space and stop the run. So it gives him freedom to rush the A-gap, to go inside, to loop around and run these stunts and these slants. And it's really tough to defend him. You just don't know where he's going to come from. The Packers front 7 is one of those front 7s that if you have a lead, they will close it out, just like they did last night. The secondary still has some questions, and I think that's where even last night they were vulnerable a little bit. Jaden Daniels it was a really tough spot for Washington. It really was. I mean, when we circled this game early in the summer, I mean, I was looking at my sheet tonight. One of my first NFL bets way back on July 24th was Packers -1.5 against the Commanders.
Nice.
Like it was just a bad spot after we thought the game week 1 was going to be much more competitive and physical between the Giants and the Commanders, to be fair. But then you have to turn around and be the first team to travel on a Thursday night and to go on a short week to Lambeau, tough spot. And then you throw in the Micah Parsons stuff, which just sent that fan base and that situation into a frenzy. He was walking into a hornet's nest, just like Jared Goff was walking into a hornet's nest last Sunday. This Packers team is legit. Jordan Love understands the offense. I think I said it on your show yesterday. I said the thing that Love does that not a lot of people realize is just how good of a play he gets his team into on every snap and how he understands. Like, he's so calm and composed because he's been in this system for a very long time. And he is just very comfortable. Now, losing Jaden Reed hurts. Their receivers are made of glass. Josh Jacobs is like 3.5 yards in a cloud of dust. Their offensive line is hurt. There's warts here, but it was a tough spot for Washington, and the front seven for Green Bay really dominated.
Yeah. And as far as like the Thursday night thing goes, it's less prevalent in the beginning of the season than it is at the end of the season. So I didn't think that the spot was that terrible for Washington. If you go look, like, I'm going to bring up a trend here, but home teams since 2021, in the first 4 weeks of the season, they're 6-10 against the spread in these games, in these primetime games on Thursday nights. And so it's not like this is such an advantage in the beginning of the year. Now, at the end of the year, my goodness, is it significant. Like, once the weeks start adding in and the wear and tear of the season, and you got to go and now all of a sudden play in the end of the year, traveling after your bye week or whatever, like, it is dominant how much these home teams do later in the season. But the first week of the season, second week of the season, I didn't think that Washington was at a big disadvantage here. I thought schematically, nothing went right for them. There looked like there was no creativity. The most creative play came on that late touchdown drive where they had the Eckler wheel route that took the defender out of the picture, and then they hit the receiver for a play. That was the only play that I looked at last night that I'm like, okay, Cliff, all right, now we're calling some plays here. Because it just felt like a generic offense. It just felt like, let Jaden Daniels drop back and see what happens down the field. But the Packers defense played great, and nothing opened up down the field. And as much as we talk about the pass rush last night, which, yes, I do agree, the Packers pass rush was tremendous. But Jaden Daniels still had a lot of time to throw. If you looked at his time to throw last night, it was over 3 seconds. That's a long time to throw. So that tells me that it was more about maybe the pass coverage, guys not getting open down the field, or Jaden Daniels just being indecisive and not getting rid of the football and waiting till routes developed, or escaping the pocket because the pass rush is forcing him to escape the pocket and therefore holding on to the football too long. All of this can be true. I just think it was a whole congruence of events that led to a bad performance for Washington last night and a good performance for Green Bay. I think both can be true. Did you have a chance to look at some of the advanced numbers from last night?
I did. You look at the success rate, Washington 38%, Green Bay 50%. 50% is a really good success rate in the NFL.
Yeah.
If you're successful on half your plays, you're probably going to win most games. You don't lose a lot of games unless you're the Jets with a 50% success rate. It just seems like only the Jets could lose a game like that. Washington on early passes, 43% success rate. So it wasn't as bad, I think, as it looked. I think you're right that it was a vanilla game plan on a short week, and Kingsbury did not give you his best stuff. And I bet he'll admit that after the game. It was not my best call. I think these Thursday games are tough, home or road. I don't really think it matters because you still only have a certain amount of time to prepare. It is slightly harder for the road team to prepare. So I'm not surprised that it was, if you're familiar, if you played baseball growing up, show and go. Like, like, to me, that's kind of the vibe with these games. And the Packers right now have better players. Jaden Daniels and McLaurin and Eckler got hurt in the game too. It looked like a non-contact Achilles injury, so that's not good. But you do look at right now the overall team roster 1 through 53. Green Bay's got better players. So I think that's kind of what won in the end. I was surprised that the Green Bay lack of an offensive line, the injuries on the offensive line didn't play a factor at all. That's how good Jordan Love is at being able to see what's happening in the defense and, again, get his team into and out of sticky spots. That is the best quarterbacking is the things you don't see. That's why do you think Tom Brady was so great? What do you think? It was because he had Jaden Daniels' physical traits? It's not. It's because he gets to the line of scrimmage and he is able to see what you are in and get his team into and out of bad plays and out of bad plays and into good plays. And nobody was better at that. Nobody. I think he's the best that's ever done it. And it's preparation and it's confidence in the system. And that's what Jordan Love has that I think he doesn't get enough credit. I hear this all the time. I was giving out Packers takes all summer. They're the best team in the NFC. This team is legit. And everyone's like, who's their best player? I'm like, Jordan freaking Love. Like, can we give this dude some love here? I think he's starting to earn it week by week. I mean, what they've done to two really good offenses, two really good teams, two playoff teams in back-to-back weeks to start this season, you need to take notice.
We did give out 2 prop bets on the show last night, and they were up on betterday.com. Then again, we didn't have a good night losing the Wake Forest. We'll talk about that in the college football
don't even that name's banned from the podcast for at least a month.
We'll talk about that in Football Friday Part 2. Joshua Nunn will join me for that episode, so you want to make sure that you tune into that coming up a little bit later on today. And then we lost the Commanders plus the 3.5, obviously. We cashed in on Jordan Love, longest rush over 5.5 yards.
That was a good call. Drive. That was a really good call.
But we lost on the Josh Jacobs longest rush of over 14.5. Now, we should have just played – I'm dumb. We should have just played his over rushing yards for the game. He went over his rushing yards. Sure. Of course it's hindsight, but that's what we do, Jared. It's hindsight. He went over his rushing yards, 23 carries for 84 yards, did have a touchdown, which is now 10 straight games that he has had a rushing touchdown in. He was north of minus $2 to score a touchdown last night.
Yeah, stop. You should stop playing that now. They're probably going to be minus $4 next week.
Yep. But he does go over. His longest rush was only 10 yards, though. Savion frickin' Williams had a 16-yard rush. That's what we needed out of Jacobs. The 16-yard rush.
The problem is they don't give Jacobs the explosive looks. He gets the tough yards. I don't think Jacobs is a good guy for that category. I really don't. I think he's more of he's not a churner and burner. He's a tough yards, gritty yards guy.
Which is amazing because, like, the handicap, like, this is one where I'm going to take a victory lap on a loss here. Because
Stop. No, don't do that. Don't do that.
I am going to do it because here's the thing. The longest rush of the game was by Savion Williams for 16 yards.
And he went in motion, right?
And he went in motion.
Yeah.
In motion run play.
So that was the handicap, but I just think it was applied to the wrong human being. Like, honestly, that's a really good changeup now. What are Savion Williams rushing props? Because that dude, I think, is listed as a receiver, and you can't give Jacob – how many carries Jacobs have? Like 50 carries tonight? What do you have, like 25, 30 carries? You cannot give this man 30 carries a game. He had 23 carries. You cannot give him 25 carries a game at 3.7 a tote and expect him to survive the year because those are all tough yards. You're going to take a beating doing that.
Yeah, they gave Matthew Golden even got 2 carries in that game last night as well. So interesting. No backup running back.
Put me down for the Savion Williams rushing yard over next week.
2 for 24 for Williams, 2 for 15 for Matthew Golden.
So they both went over. No, only Williams went over the longest. The other guys both. Jordan Love would have went over. He had a 14. Everybody goes over the longest rush yard prop except the guy we need.
Everybody goes over. It's amazing. All right. So yeah, lost that one, and congratulations. The Packers become the first team in a matchup of 2 teams that won by double digits in week number 1 to cover the spread in week number 2. It had never happened before. They were 0-5.
Well, it is a super small sample, but yes, now it's 5-1.
Yeah. No, 1-5.
Guess what?
Now.
Guess what? Mark it down. 2026, we're going to play the same goddamn trend again, and I guarantee you it hits next year. So we'll see you in a year, people.
Bigger picture now. Okay, we already know how high you and I both are on the Packers. You have the Packers winning the Super Bowl. I have the Packers
I have them
losing.
going to the Super Bowl and the Chiefs winning, but yes,
you
I
have them
in
going
the
to the
NFC.
Super Bowl.
Although the bet that I made officially is just the matchup. It's 55
So
to
did I.
1, just Chiefs versus Packers. I don't really care who wins, frankly, in the bet.
I made 2 matchup bets. I made Bills 49ers, which was my prediction up on the website, and then I made Bills Packers.
The Niners have stolen Joe Boo's rum. I don't know what the Niners are. I don't understand it. I don't get it. There has to be a voodoo curse on the Niners. There has to be.
We'll talk about them in just a minute here because I have a lot of thoughts. But final big picture thoughts. Forget about the Packers. We both have them in the NFC Championship game. We'll leave it at that. Yeah. Let's talk about the Commanders. Where do you have the Commanders this year? I mean, it's hard to judge off of week 1 because the Giants looked so bad. But even with the Giants looking so bad, the Giants still had moments in that game that they just weren't able to, they weren't able to complete drives, right? They had a 1st and goal at the 3-yard line. They didn't get a touchdown there. They certainly had other moments in the game. The drops were not in their favor. It's hard to judge Washington off of that week 1 game. Now we have another data point of them looking inept here against Green Bay. We look forward now to next week. They're at home against the Raiders. I got to be honest. If the Raiders, I know it's a tough spot because it's the Commanders have the short, the bye, the abbreviated.
And the Raiders
bye,
are on
right?
a short week because they play Monday. I'll be honest, that's a really good bounce back spot for Washington, I think.
Yes, and the Raiders are on a short week and traveling cross country.
Yes.
To go play the early game.
Yes, that is a terrible spot for the Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
That is the worst spot of the week right there.
And I will say this, if the Raiders win on Monday night against the Chargers, this would be the fade spot to fade them after that big division win at home to now go on the road cross country and play a Commanders team. And then they play a Commanders team that looked terrible here on Thursday night. That would be the recency bias. We would
100%.
The sharp play is on the Commanders next week.
Absolutely. I hope the Raiders win by 100 on Monday because then it just sets up for the perfect spot to fade them. That is a terrible spot for the Raiders next week. The week after, right? This week, Chargers, there's a good spot. Next week's a bad spot.
Mm-hmm. Now, if we look, I just want to see if there's even an early line on that game. Because it
was 7.5 in the summer. I'm looking at my spread matrix now.
6.5 now. So it's Commanders laying 6.5.
Yeah.
I don't think you can make the bet until the result of the Monday night game. Because if the Raiders win, this is dropping down to 6 or 5.5.
I even think if the Raiders just compete, I think it still drops because I think it's a bad spot. And I think the Sharps know that it's a bad spot. Because if I know it's a bad spot and I'm not a Sharp, then the Sharps definitely know it's a bad spot.
Would you be willing to bet it now at 6.5?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
I'll be honest. I wish I bet it over the summer. So I make my spread matrix in like June where I put every spread in from DraftKings. Mm-hmm. So I know what the opening spreads were pretty much. I mean, I might be off by like a week or two because they open right after the schedule drops. And it was 7.5 in the summer. I wish I made the bet then. And it's lighting up blue. I put, like bad spot, like rest edge on games. And it's like a heavy blue it's a 4-day rest edge for Washington. It's a spot that I should have bet over the summer at 7.5.
That is one that does jump out to me now moving forward for next week number 3. Okay, let's still talk week 2 here on this Football Friday episode of Better Day. I'm Scott Seidenberg. He's Jared Smith. Thank you for tuning in, and make sure that you're following the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. If you're watching this on YouTube, what's up? This is what we look like. Make sure that you are subscribing to the podcast Better Day wherever you get your podcasts from, and the Apple and Spotify links will be in the description of this video, so you can check it out there as well. Let's talk about those 49ers. Who are dealing with injuries. Brock Purdy now, it looks like he's going to be out multiple weeks. We have seen some movement on the spread here, significantly, for their game coming up against the Saints. They also have other injury concerns because Trent Williams didn't practice, right? And so if he misses a game, obviously it's massive how important he is at left tackle for them. Banged up wide receivers. I mean, I guess the good news is that Christian McCaffrey's okay after 1 week. Ricky Pearsall's okay after 1 week. Here's what I will say about the 49ers. I kind of want to take them and lay the points this week.
Yeah, at 3, I think it's a decent bet.
Because let's not forget, Kyle Shanahan wanted Mac Jones. He got overruled, and they drafted Trey Lance. Kyle Shanahan wanted Mac Jones. Now he has Mac Jones. It would not surprise me if Mac Jones balls the fuck out and the Niners put up a big number this week. And the Niners are going to be just fine with Mac Jones at quarterback. I mean, look at the games that Mac Jones played. I just said Mac Jones like 10 times in a row. Look at the games that he played last year for when he started for the Jaguars. The offensive numbers were not bad. Like Brian Thomas Jr. still put up incredible fantasy numbers last year. And it was like, whoa. Like he's playing with Mac Jones, but he's still putting up all these monster numbers. Like that's interesting. Let's see. In the games, he had some highlights last year. Against the Raiders, 25 of 39, 247 and a touchdown. 31 of 46 against the Jets, 294, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. 15 of 22 for 174 and 2 touchdowns against the Titans. 20 of 32, 225, a touchdown and a pick against Indy. Like, he's capable. And if Kyle Shanahan believes in him, which I think he does, because as I mentioned, he wanted to draft him, I think we actually see a decent performance from the 49ers.
I can't argue with it. I made it a 4-point move. So again, you're going now from, I think it was 7.5 down to 3.
Yeah.
So you're at 4.5, kissing up against the key. You've already gone through one key. And to be fair, there's cluster injuries for San Francisco in other spots. Mm-hmm. But I think the quarterback one is the one that's probably moved about 0.5 point too much. And then if you're of the belief that there's actually some kind of psychological edge with Mac Jones and Kyle Shanahan, then maybe it's only a 3-point move, right? You know, maybe I downgraded too much. You know, the 4-point move is based off of just talent alone, familiarity in the system, experience. Mm-hmm. And maybe if there is some kind of psychological boost to Mac Jones and Kyle Shanahan being linked together, then maybe it should only be a 3-point move. And then maybe all of a sudden 3 is looking like a value for San Francisco.
I am debating making this one of my Circa Millions selections. I have 4 picks already this week for Circa Millions. I'm debating which is going to be my 5th. This might be my 5th.
This won't be a popular play, so I think that's a good idea.
And seeing it at -3, I just think it's too much. I really think it's too much. We know the Saints are the worst team in football. And here's what Kyle Shanahan spoke to the media earlier this week. Quote, Mac knows how to play the position. He can play well in the pocket, distributes the ball well, sees coverage well, can play fast in there. He's got a lot of good film from the NFL with the experience and obviously college. Tough guy who will hang in there and deliver the ball where it needs to go. And then he asked about between the similarities between Mac Jones and Brock Purdy. Quote, I mean, they're real similar in terms of how they play the game. They're both extremely tough. They both can distribute the ball. I don't know who has a faster 40. Brock, I'd say, is a little bit more of a scrambler, but they're close to similar, end quote. I think Shanahan's going to unlock this guy. I mean, who was Brock Purdy? Brock Purdy was a nice quarterback at Iowa State, but he was also Mr. Irrelevant in the NFL draft.
Mr. Irrelevant.
Right? Mac Jones was what, second overall pick? Third over, or no, he was later than that.
Let's just be honest about the situation, though. How healthy McCaffrey is really is the key here.
There's no setbacks. He looked great in week 1. And
as long as he's good, I'm with you. I'm with you that Mac Jones can come in a short period of time, and in the short term, it's the hero effect. It's the fallen hero, you know. But would I want him to be the quarterback the rest of the year? No. But in the short term, to go to New Orleans and get a win, I think you're in good shape. And the game might land 3, but they're not going to probably win by 1 or 2. So if you really think this is going to be a Niners smash spot, this might be your bargain basement value bet of the week to get a roster this talented against the Saints roster that poor with Spencer Rattler, a quarterback, at a field goal price.
That's exactly my take here. And Mac Jones, we know 15th pick overall in the draft, but Kyle wanted to take him at 3. And instead he got overruled by management. They wind up taking Trey Lance. Good thing
When
they
did
drafted
Jones
Brock
go? It was
Purdy.
later in the first round, right?
Mac was 15th.
15th,
Mac
right.
Jones, yeah.
Yeah.
But Kyle wanted to take him at 3. Got overruled.
People
They took
forget he
Trey
almost
Lance.
won the Heisman. That year that Devontae Smith won the Heisman, that was Mac Jones throwing to him.
Yeah. Yes.
Like both, you could have gone either way there, I think.
And he had a great rookie year with the Patriots. Fell off the earth.
Yeah, everyone
but had a
wanted
great
to
rookie
love
year.
on him. That was an awful put. That is where, again, replacing Tom Brady. You know, I think it was Cam Newton first, then Mac Jones, right? I think that was the line of succession. That was a fool's errand to try to replace Tom. And with Belichick as your coach, who obviously, based on what we're seeing now, that was a lame duck.
But
I think the situation is much better for him to flourish. And he, to be fair, right? You said it. He played well in Jacksonville last year. He had his moments.
I mean, just think about the pedigree. Think about the 2 guys that actually wanted you. Bill Belichick drafted you, and Kyle Shanahan tried to draft you. And then when you became a free agent, he went and grabbed you to be the backup quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy that played for Nick Saban, and I think Bill O'Brien was the OC then. I think. Yeah. I might be wrong. You can fact
was
check
it
me.
Sark?
It was either Sark or Bill, one of those two.
Yeah.
Calling plays for him.
Yeah. So I'm a believer in Mac Jones this week here for the 49ers. Let's run through the rest of the schedule here on Sunday. Jaguars at the Bengals. Cincinnati laying north of a field goal here against Jacksonville. Did you see enough from Cincinnati against the Cleveland Browns in week number 1 to want to lay 3.5 here against the Jaguars?
Absolutely freaking not. Are you kidding me? I don't think I would take 3 with Cincinnati right now. I mean, honestly, I am scared. This number has moved, I think, the most of any number all week. I might be wrong. No, it was obviously the Niners game, but non-injury related quarterback move. This thing was
5.5. It opened 5.5, so I'm seeing 5.5 to 3.5.
I saw a look ahead of 6.5.
Oh, maybe that's on the look ahead line.
That's a big move.
Hmm.
Bengals looked awful last week. They looked awful. Their offense looked terrible. And I don't think their defense really showed much because they didn't have to, because Cleveland they can't run it. And Flacco just kind of flubbed it in the big spots. I liked what I saw from the Jags offense. They spread it around. You don't know who to really guard now, right? You had 8 guys get a target. 7 guys had a carry. That's tough to defend. What do you take away? Travis Hunter didn't really impact the game at all, and they still dominated Carolina.
He'll get more involved. In the offense.
Exactly. I honestly think they're saving him for this game. That's what I would have done.
Maybe. Yeah.
He wants to show up Jamar Chase. He wants to show him who the Travis Hunter anytime touchdown bet. What is it? 2-1 probably? Book it for me this week.
Wow,
they're getting him involved this week because he wasn't involved at all last week, and I think he's going to be part of the offense this week. I think he wants to go to Cincinnati and show that he's the best receiver in the league.
Travis Hunter anytime touchdown plus 235.
Feels like a nice little pizza sprinkle for me this weekend.
Okay. I don't hate it.
How about the 2 touchdown bet? What's the 2 touchdown bet?
Oh,
I mean, listen, this Bengals defense, it's not exactly the 85 Bears here.
Plus 1,900.
There's your pizza bet of the weekend right there.
Okay. Now,
because you get special teams defense counts too, right?
Defense well, that's what I was going to say. If he gets a pick 6, does it count?
Pick 6 counts, right? Does it?
It has to, right? He scored a touchdown.
I'll be honest, if it better. Because if he gets one and then he doesn't get, I'll be pissed.
Could you imagine he catches a receiving touchdown, then gets a pick 6, but he doesn't get credit for the second touchdown?
This is an unprecedented situation. When have we ever had an anytime touchdown guy also be eligible to get a defensive score? Because he's playing defense.
It would be Dion, but we didn't have DraftKings Sportsbook back then.
DraftKings did not exist when Dion was playing.
Yeah, right. But like, could you imagine if they don't cash your bets and they're like,
oh my God. If I bet anytime touchdown and he only gets a pick 6, I'd be furious. I'd be livid.
But here's the thing. They have to pay out the Jaguars defense and they have to pay out the Travis Hunter. They're going to say, no, it only goes in as the defensive touchdown.
Wow.
I don't know. I don't know what the house rules are.
This is a loophole that I really hope happens at some point. I hope he gets a pick six. Oh my God, please.
I mean,
Please.
because
It'd be
you
awesome
can
if it was
bet
this weekend.
because you can
just
bet
for shits and giggles.
Jaguars defense or special teams at plus 475. So like, I
I would
wonder.
be livid if he had a pick six and I had an anytime touchdown bet and I didn't get a cash. I'd be very upset. Especially because part of the handicap is he plays both ways. That should be priced into his number. And if it's not,
That's amazing.
then it's a bad number.
Wow. Okay, let's move on. Giants are at the Cowboys. We have seen a lot of movement here on this spread. And no, it's not me moving the line because of my love for the New York Giants this week and the ultimate fade spot here for the Dallas Cowboys. But this is now down in some spots to 4.5, 5.5 at Circa here in Vegas with the Cowboys as the home favorite. I think a lot of it has to do with Deron Bland probably not playing for the Dallas Cowboys. So that's a big impact there. But a lot of love, a lot of sharp love for the New York Giants. The Giants were the number one most selected team in Circa Millions last week. Will they be amongst the top 5 this week?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. I feel like people are. I mean, it's a pretty sharp pool, but it's millions, so it's pretty public too. I feel like the public's kind of had enough. Let's leave it at this. If Dallas wins by 30 this week, do they even let Dable back on the flight home? Like, if Dallas
the Giants don't score a touchdown this week, do they let him back on the flight?
I know. Listen, I think I told you this. I posted this that I think Dable's going to be the first coach fired, and I got a lot of pushback. Everyone responded Mike McDaniel, and like obviously yes, him too. But I think there's more pressure on Dable and Shane because of just how influential Mara is with the team, whereas the Dolphins owner not as involved. So I think Mara's fed up. You go down to Dallas and lose by 30. Oh man. Whew.
That it would be bad. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I don't know. I think the Giants can win this game. I'm not sold on the Cowboys.
They probably will because Dallas has their issues too, and this is a great bounce back spot. But Dallas looked okay last week. Dak looked okay. They're going to be a high scoring team. Bet the over. How about that? Hooker and Bland both banged up for the Cowboys. That's cluster injury in the secondary.
44.5.
Yeah, I mean, if you get a 44, right, that's a key.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, let's go ahead and we'll lock that in, and maybe an over on the Giants, a best bet there. I already have the Giants at +6, so I'm happy about my CLV
that's a
here.
Good bet.
Hopefully we're not shining that trophy up and celebrating it after it loses again. Okay, the Bears are at the Lions. We have Detroit as a big home favorite here, laying 6.5 against the Bears. Is this still love for what the Lions were and not what the Lions are?
No. Bad spot for Chicago. And also, let's be honest, they didn't look great. I think this is purely reactionary to what we saw from Chicago in the second half of that game. And when you now look at the result with Green Bay and Washington, like Green Bay's legit. I told you guys on our pod a few days ago, Detroit ran into a buzzsaw. They ran into a buzzsaw last Sunday. Green Bay is legit. And I don't think that result against the Packers needs to be like, oh, man, Detroit sucks now because they lost both their coordinators. They go back inside. They face a Bears team that's licking their wounds. One day less prep. Ben Johnson had deer in headlights look in the second half of that game. Yeah. I think the pupil will succumb here to the master. I think the Lions win this game. I do.
Don't we usually see the coaches beat their former coordinators? I know Belichick used to dominate his former guys, right?
Yeah.
Saban would dominate his former guys all the time. It's interesting. Yeah, we'd have to take a look at all the situations here, but I would lean towards the Lions. It's a big number to lay here in a division game, but I honestly like the over in this one too. I think there's going to be points scored. The Lions, they didn't score anything last week. That's going to change this week. And the Bears offense has shown that they have some ability here, especially with Ben Johnson calling the plays. So I think we can get a high-scoring game indoors there. Total is at 46.5. I'd be in anything under 48. I'd be in here on this total. Let's move on to the Rams at the Titans. And Stafford really didn't look like he was having any ill effects from the back issue that plagued him in the preseason. It's not like they dominated that game. I thought defensively they played really well against the Houston Texans. Now you have a Rams team that is laying 5.5 at Tennessee, where Cam Ward just couldn't get out of his own way against the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, I don't really know what to say about this one. I think I'm kind of on the fence, to be perfectly honest with you.
Really?
I think I'm on the fence. Convince me. Convince me why I should be on your side of the aisle here.
Dude, I have no play. I mean, I feel like if there was a play, as ugly as it is, like I think just on principle, I'd want to be on the Titans. Only because
All about Stafford's back. Ward looked really bad.
Yeah, that's the thing. And this would only be like I'm getting the home team here, and rookie starting on the road. It's kind of like you said, like maybe maybe it was just a bad spot for Detroit going up against Green Bay to start the year. Well, maybe that was just a terrible spot for Cam Ward to play his first NFL game.
It was a really bad spot for Cam
at Denver. And maybe he's going to look a lot better here in week number 2. I don't know. Or maybe he's just terrible. Maybe he's a bust. We'll find out.
I think I need more time to marinate on Cam Ward. Yeah. I do think the Rams defense played a lot better than I expected. Now, here's a good note on the Rams I got from our BetUS show. Kevin O'Neill did a great job breaking this down. The Rams are a much better team with long time to prepare and extra rest because of their coaching and their veteran situation. That's not the case here. You got to travel, body clock, early game. I know that doesn't really matter a whole lot, but it's just a different set of circumstances than having your whole offseason to prepare for the Houston Texans. Now you have to face a quarterback who's a little more multiple, who I think is a lot more athletic than C.J. Stroud was last week, who is not a statue in the pocket. It's a different kind of vibe. That being said, the Titans, I didn't like how Callahan coached the game. I thought he brain farted his way through some situational spots. But that was a tough spot, right? Like that was a tough atmosphere in Denver with a rookie QB. So yeah, I think the sharp play here is to take the points with the Titans. That was always my vibe preseason, was I'm up on Tennessee, down on the Rams. So I think until I really get more of a solid footing on Cam Ward, I think I stay with that original opinion.
Yeah, I don't have an official play on this game. If I had to make one, I think honestly, I think I might take the Titans, as crazy as that sounds. Okay, let's move on to the next game, which I find fascinating. It is the Patriots at the Dolphins, and this spread has kind of jumped back and forth here. Right now, it is at circa. Miami is up to a 2.5-point favorite. This was a pick'em. This was down to 1. Now we're seeing a lot of love come in on Miami. Why do you think we have seen all the money coming in on Miami now?
Call this one the bounce back bowl. Both of these teams just kind of was like a wet noodle, especially the Dolphins last week. I think the injury concerns, both teams kind of have it. I don't trust either team right now. Vrabel seems like he's still kind of figuring things out. And McDaniel he just seems like he's ready for spring break. So I feel like the Pats fit that trend of the 0-1 bounce back teams, right? The road dogs. But now they're not really a road dog. So that's not a trend I'd probably consider. I think it's really about which quarterback plays better, obviously. Duh, analysis, Jared. But May was really disappointing last week. Really disappointing. I know Tua, we expect a certain level of professionalism from him that was, not there. But Drake May was the toast of the town all summer. And that was an absolute dud of a performance. So, I think New England plays better, but I also think the fact that they're in the sun, that Miami sun, although I think Fez said you looked up this trend. The Dolphins don't really cover more at home in those September games.
Yeah,
even though you they do.
So let's talk about this because there's a couple different angles here. One, it is let's talk about the stadium first, and then we'll talk about Tua at home versus Tua on the road. The Dolphins redid Hard Rock Stadium in 2016. They re-engineered the stadium. They did some renovations. They built those canopies up on the roof. And what it did was it created a part of the field that was in the shade, which is the Dolphins sideline. And then the other part of the field, which is the opposing sideline, stays in the sun. And they talk about this during game day. It's like 15 degrees warm, hotter or cooler on the Dolphins sideline. It's hotter on the opponent's sideline. So in September, the heat does get to the road teams. And the Patriots going down to Miami has been a house of horrors for them. I think a lot of that narrative is built into this spread here. But I looked it up. Since they did that stadium renovation, in 1 o'clock games at Hard Rock Stadium in the month of September since 2016, the Dolphins are only 6-6 against the spread. They're 7-5 straight up, only 6-6 against the spread. Now, under Mike McDaniel, though, he's been there since 2022, and they have won the last 4 games. They've covered 3 of them. So they are undefeated 4-0 under Mike McDaniel in these September home games.
I think that's important because he,
Yes.
I think having trends end when the coach leaves matters because then a whole new cycle of coaches comes in and it's like a brand new team.
Plus, also, we know that under Mike McDaniel, they run the highest rate, one of the highest rate of motions in the NFL. They have all those speedsters that the opposing defense has to run
I think
after.
Miami bounces back.
I
think
too.
Miami bounces back.
I think the Heat does have a factor when you're running after Tyreek Hill and Jaden Waddle and HN. And don't be surprised if we see some love from Ollie Gordon this week for Miami. And then
that was such a fluky result last week. Like, who thought Daniel Jones was going to be a top 5 success rate quarterback in week 1?
To me, that
felt like the fluky result of the week, and Indy's not that good. They are not that good.
To me, this is like the ultimate recency bias game. No one wants to bet on Miami this week.
No one wants
to bet on Miami. Miami might.
Everyone fired the coach. You should see the replies to that tweet I sent out about Dable. In people's minds, the public's minds, McDaniel's fired. He's the worst coach in the league. I don't know if that's true. I will die on the Dable first coach fired hill. I will die on that hill this year.
Tua is 4-0, both straight up in ATS against the Patriots. He is that's at home, by the way. Tua and Mike McDaniel, excuse me, together 4-0 straight up in ATS against the Patriots. And then Tua's just so much better at home than he is on the road. He really has played a lot better at home here. Let's see. Dolphins, 1 o'clock Eastern time. In the last decade, this is Evan Abrams of the Action Network has this, 43-21 straight up, 20-5 straight up with Tua. Outside of the 1 o'clock, just 8-8 straight up at home.
The Dolphins are winning this game. By the way, I have both New England and Miami under 8.5 wins this year. One of them is going to be 0-2.
I have New England under 8.5. So yeah, this would be a big win for me. I think the Dolphins might be my fifth selection. I
think that's a good one. I wish that I put anyone in except Washington this week.
I have a lot of it's pretty much all dogs for me. It's the Raiders, it's the Giants.
Yeah, I have a lot of dogs I like this week too.
Yeah. The Dolphins might be the favorite that I take, and I think it's only 1 in the contest. So I'd have to double check that. But yeah, I think this is a huge bounce back spot for Miami. We already talked about the 49ers and the Saints. I would lay it with the 49ers, especially at 3. Yeah. I think Mac Jones is going to be fine in this spot. Bills and Jets. I love the Jets here. And I might be a sucker, Jared. I might be a sucker. I absolutely love him here. Justin Fields looked serviceable in week number 1. And the Bills defense, they allowed a lot. They allowed a lot here to the Ravens. And it was Lamar. And I know it's Lamar and it's not Justin Fields, but Justin Fields has a very similar skill set to Lamar. Yes. And he can scramble and run. And if the Bills defense wasn't able to contain Lamar, they're not going to be able to contain Justin Fields. I think this is an over game as well. Like, I know it's like I'm talking myself into overs here, but you know what? When I feel like the underdog's going to score a ton of points, and I know the favorite's capable of scoring, I mean, I can see this game easily going over 46.5.
Yeah. I do think the Jets, I just couldn't get there because the number, I want 7. Fez made the game 7. I don't think we're going to get a 7, but the spot screams Jets, right? 0-1 underdog, 1-0 favorite. Like it's
Circa's down to 5.5.
Yeah, you're not getting a 7. The 7s are long gone. The Jets gained 6.5 yards per play and were a plus 6% net success rate and lost the game. That's because their punt returner had a brain fart, who, by the way, he got cut this week. Yep. And that I like that. I like that. I like that Aaron Glenn saying you cannot turn the ball over in big spots on this team, or you will not be on this team. Ed Oliver also popped up on the injury report this week.
Yes.
That
Yes.
is very impactful for the Bills stopping the run. He was like the only guy that was in the backfield against the Ravens the other
Hmm.
night. So,
That's why I think you
a
saw a lot of
huge
significant line
game.
move here.
Yes,
Hmm.
I
So
agree.
Jets, as I mentioned, I got it at 6.5 earlier in the week. It is at 5.5 at Circa. There are still 6.5s out there. We're looking at FanDuel right now, and the Jets are still,
Yeah, I'm gonna take 6.5.
yeah,
I think. I
six and
didn't
a half
mention
is
this
still
during the
available.
Saints Niners because we breezed through it real quick, but I'm on the under in that game too at 41.
I can see it. I don't think the Saints score.
I think that game feels like 27-10. I think the Niners defense is legit too.
Yep, yep. This is going to be really good for my Nick Bosa Defensive Player of the Year ticket. If he has a
Yes.
couple
Let's hope
couple
Nick
of
Bosa
sacks,
gets
a
like 6
rattler,
sacks tomorrow.
yeah. Oh yeah, it's happening. Seahawks are at the Steelers, and right now, looking across the board here, I'm seeing Pittsburgh a 3-point favorite all across the board. Are you playing anything in this one?
I mean, you think you want to take 3 with Seattle. That's kind of what the trends say, the market trends say. The Steelers had a fluky win, right? They don't get that punt, return, fumble. I think, the Jets probably win that game.
The
Seahawks
kickoff,
off
yeah.
kind of a fluky loss, although if you take 3 with Seattle, you're putting your hopes. Actually, 2 reasons why. One reason why, 2 words. I can't bet Seattle in this game. Sam Darnold. Because at 3, they need to win, you're hoping for a push. So I'm not there with old Sammy Sunshine. I can't get
Hmm.
there on the road. I can't do it.
Feels like an under game. I mean, it's a low total, but then
Maybe.
again, I thought the Jets was going to be an under game, and the Jets'
Yeah.
offense looked good, and Aaron Rodgers looked good. So if Aaron Rodgers looks good, I mean, these should be good defenses. The Steelers' defense should be good. The Seahawks' defense we thought was going to be good. So it feels like an under game, but after what I saw last week, I don't know if I can do it. Let's move on to the Browns at the Ravens. Heavy line here for Baltimore. Coming off of that loss, this is the same situation that happened last year when it felt like everyone was saying, there's no way the Ravens are going to go 0-2. Are you kidding me? Let's just load up on the
They're
Ravens.
not going 0-2. It's not happening.
Ravens in Survivor, Ravens in a teaser, all the Ravens money. And what happened? They blow a double-digit lead and lose to the Raiders last year.
Put the Ravens in your survivor pool. You're safe this week.
11.5-point favorites. You're saying they
You're
will
safe
not
this
lose.
week. They're not going to
Okay.
lose. Although I will say this. This is the one thing that's scary. And I did this exercise with Fez and the crew today or yesterday on the BetUS show. So, consensus, Ravens best team in the AFC North over the last 4 years. Yes?
Yes.
Consensus, Browns worst team in the AFC North over the last 4 years.
Yes.
The Ravens have not swept the Browns in those 4 years. The Browns have taken a game from them all 4 years. They've split. Last year, it was the Jameis Winston show. So these games can get a little funky. However, what do we know about something you shouldn't do before a big game? You don't poke the bear. The Browns poked the bear this week. They poked
Yeah,
the
I mean,
freaking bear.
I don't
Why
know.
would you try to make any kind of statement regarding Derrick Henry's tackle ability? That is just
So do we
these guys have hubris for days. It's wild. So I think the
Derrick?
Ravens might run it up on them. I really do.
That's what I was
They
gonna say.
can.
Derrick Henry over rushing yards, or do we do the Derrick Henry
I
two,
think you
two
just bet
touchdown
the
prop?
over in the game. I think you just bet the over in the game. It's 45. The Ravens are getting to 30. You need
Uh,
14, 17
yep.
from Cleveland. I
Last
think
four
that's the safest way to capture the volatility of a potential blowout.
last
But
4
yeah, you could
years.
get cute. Ravens team total, Derrick Henry, whatever. But I think the most effective way to capture the Ravens absolutely dropping a shit burger is just to bet over 45. Because they might
Ravens
score
are
45.
4-4 against the Browns in the last 4 years, both straight up in ATS, and the total is 4-4. So it's exactly.
I bet over 45. That's the bet I made.
Okay.
That's the bet I made.
Broncos at the Colts. Denver is a short road favorite here, as they are -1. There's -2 at FanDuel, 2.5 at FanDuel, believe it or not. So a lot of disparity there. -1 pretty much across the board. There's some -1.5. So differing opinions on the Broncos and the Colts. And the question is, will Daniel Jones look like he did last week against this Broncos defense?
No chance. There's no freaking chance. I will stake my reputation on Daniel Jones will not look that good this week. If he does, then Shane Steichen's your coach of the year. I mean, I think there has to be some regression. That had to have been just a really bad spot for Miami's defense, and it just snowballed. The Broncos didn't look great on offense. They didn't. This feels like an under game. This feels like a Daniel Jones, oh my God, last week. And this week it's like, oh my God. Like it's like the same line, just two different tones of voice.
Yeah.
And I think the Broncos offense, the one thing I've noticed when I dug into their stuff over the summer was they were really conservative in the first half of games. And maybe that was to kind of keep Nick's, the kid gloves, keep the kid gloves on. They didn't take them off last week. Maybe it's because they played Tennessee and they didn't think they needed to, but he threw 2 picks and he lost a fumble for the first time since like 21 when he was playing for Auburn. So he's still a little bit shaky. And if they're not going to really open this thing up and the Colts offense takes that step back, 43 feels like it's a little bit too rich for a total here.
Okay. I don't hate it. Panthers at the Cardinals. This is probably going to be a very popular survivor pick. We have the Cardinals up to a 7-point favorite here over the Panthers.
Over. I mean, Arizona was moving it really well last week, and then all of a sudden it was like, what happened in the second half of that game? And Carolina, expectations were a little bit higher this year. You laid a freaking egg last week. I mean, that was a whopper of an egg against the Jacksonville defense that you should have been able to move it a little bit against, and you barely gained 4 yards of play. So I think Canales and Bryce Young are going to be aggressive this week. You cannot go to Arizona and lay another egg because then you're 0-2 and then Andy Dalton's kind of lurking. I think you'll see a much more urgent Carolina offense this week. And I think Arizona's offense left a lot of meat on the bone last week. And I think Benson's going to get a lot more looks in that backfield. And Harrison looked good. So I think over, right? 44 felt pretty reasonable for a team with, I think, 2 good offense. Carolina's defense is terrible. So Arizona could get to 30. I thought they were going to score 40 last week, and they only got to 20. 30 feels like a good number for Arizona this week.
Okay. Eagles, Chiefs, this is the big game in the afternoon. I love that, by the way, the afternoon slate is like not that great, like Broncos, Colts, whatever, Panthers, Cardinals. This way I don't have to worry about watching the red zone. It's going to be all on Eagles Chiefs. That's what we're going to be paying attention to. Like, good job, NFL schedule makers, to just give us like 2 shitty other 1 o'clock games, Pacific time, the 4 o'clock games, so that we can just watch the Eagles and the Chiefs. So thank you very much. That being said,
9 games in the early window though, which is a lot.
Yeah. With that being said, here we have the Eagles -1 to -1.5 at Circa. However, this game is a pick'em. So obviously someone, a respected bettor or a strong opinion on the Kansas City Chiefs here in this spot. It's the question that, we said about the Baltimore Ravens. Are the Kansas City Chiefs going to start 0-2?
No. Chiefs win this game. I love that people are already jumping off the bandwagon. Listen, their offense looked really good last week despite losing their best offensive weapon in the first drive. And they still gained 6 yards per play against the Chargers defense that everyone thinks is really good. I'm not convinced on the Chargers, but Herbert played really well last week. The biggest issue I saw with Kansas City was they couldn't get off the field on third downs, and their secondary kind of wasn't communicating well. Like if you go watch the first Quentin Johnston touchdown, the one where he caught that play in the corner of the end zone when he was wide freaking open, the 2 guys ran into each other. It was a mesh route, and they just didn't communicate properly. I feel comfortable that Spags will clean that up. I trust Spags. In Spags, we trust. So I think if you're selling on the Chiefs now, you're selling too soon. Now, the Eagles are obviously going to get Jalen Carter back. Feels like an under game. Feels like a game that's played pretty tight to the vest. I don't trust the Eagles offense at all. We've talked multiple times about their coordinator situation, and they brought in this quarterback coach from outside the chain of command, and I don't really know what's going on in the room, and they didn't really alleviate any of those concerns in the Thursday night game because Jalen Hurts didn't even get to 200 yards. So I think there's reason to be concerned about the Eagles' offense, and I think their defense will get Carter back, and he'll be coming out like gangbusters, and I feel like this is a tight 20-17 Chiefs win.
2017, that's the final score?
Yep.
All right. Yeah, I think it is fascinating. That's I don't know. I mean, it's like I want to bet on the Chiefs because I don't think they start 0-2. I think they'll look a lot better than they did in week number 1. I think there'll be changes to be made. The Eagles are just so damn impressive in every aspect here of football. And with Jalen Carter back, I got to imagine the defense is going to be fine. The thing though
Yeah.
is like Xavier Worthy's out. Is it going to be all on Juju?
I don't know if
Is
he's
it what?
100% out yet. He practiced today. He might
Okay.
play. He might not be 100%, but he was limited. So maybe
Okay.
he plays. That's a big one. But at least now you're planning for some packages without him. Whereas last week he gets hurt on the first drive and they still gained 6 yards per play in the game. And
Mhm.
Mahomes did some magical things. Again, they get off the field on 3rd and 12 when Herbert has that scramble, and they have the ball down 6 with 2 minutes left. So it was that one play, really. And I thought they played very poorly defensively, and they still had a chance to get off the field in the final 2 minutes and give the ball to the best player in the sport to go down and win the game. I think the
It's an
Chiefs
int-
are going to be okay.
it's an interesting spot because they're both off of extended rest. The Eagles with the one
Yeah.
extra day for playing on Thursday. Like I didn't realize that when I was looking at I wanted to see how the defending Super Bowl I wanted to see teams that played in that first game on Thursday how they did in week number 2.
Mm.
Because they're on the extended rest and it's
Sure.
like the first rest advantage of the season.
Yeah.
And
Only one
straight
day,
up
though.
straight up those teams did incredible. It was like 64% straight up they win the games, but it's not that big of an advantage here because they played on Friday. Are we concerned about the travel back from Brazil at all? Like, does that factor in your
No.
opinion or no? No.
Travis Kelce's been traveling all over the world all year. He's fine. No, I'm joking, obviously. I think it matters a little bit because it's really 2 days, right? Net
Yeah.
rest, because the one day for travel, it was a tougher travel spot for sure.
Mhm.
But these guys aren't flying American coach. Like
Yeah.
that's the other part of this that we need to realize here. I think I will die on the Chiefs Hill until they tell me it's time to leave.
Yeah.
And we're not dead yet. It's been one game.
Okay.
We're not dead yet.
All right.
If they win this game, we're right back in they're the best team in the sport category.
Yeah, I would agree. Finally, Sunday night, because we do have 2 Monday night games that we'll get to on Monday morning's episode. So our final game for this pod will be the Sunday night game, Falcons at the Vikings. Minnesota laying north of a field goal. They are 3.5-point favorites. I already took 4 with Atlanta. I really like Atlanta in this spot. I really do. Now, J.J. McCarthy was impressive as heck in the second half. But in the first half, when he was trying to play on script, it didn't work out so well. And it wasn't until Kevin O'Connell just said, "Hey, we're chasing the game. Let's let the kid go out there and ball, whatever," that he shined. So I think maybe playing on script, maybe a conservative script early in this game, I think the Falcons have every opportunity to be in this game.
I took 5 with Atlanta early in the week. I thought that was a really good bet.
Nice.
The Falcons were a plus in net yards per play. They were a plus in net success rate. They didn't commit a turnover. They were plus 11 minutes time of possession, and they lost to Tampa. It's got to be one of the flukier losses that I've seen in a while. Younghoe Koo can be blamed for that. You just feel like the Vikings are a very good adjustments team. So Atlanta probably gets off to the fast start, like you mentioned, and then Minnesota bounces back. But I think it's a field goal game. I think north of 3, I think you take Atlanta.
That's where I'm at. I'm on Atlanta here in this spot. So we agree on that, on Atlanta taking the points. I want to play a lot of dogs this week. I really am. I'm going to, and some of them might be ugly. I'm going to take the Giants. I'm going to take the Jets. I'm on the Falcons. I think I'm going to lay it with the Niners, and I think I'm going to take the points with the Jags probably, and I'm gonna lay it. I think with the Dolphins, and I think the Dolphins might be
under a field goal
Dolphins
lays
might make
though,
it.
right? Niners 3, Dolphins under a field goal. So you're not laying any big numbers this week.
Yeah, I feel like the Dolphins might make my contest entry though, or
They
Dolphins
should.
and maybe 49ers.
You really should, for people like us that are not like pros that have like a million entries, you really should try to be against what, because it's a sharp pool. Like, for example, the Super Contest college pool here in Vegas too. It's very sharp. Like, it's all these old school Vegas wise guys, and they're all going to take the value on the numbers that move. So you need to be willing to take a line that hasn't moved, that isn't stale, or even is bad in your favor by like a half a point, because you know the sharp guys are not going to take that because they're only going to seek the plus EV. And you just have to be willing. You have to be good at finding those spots. And I think the Dolphins might, and the Niners might be one of those spots.
Yep. All right. Well, speaking of the Westgate contest, I'm already off to 0-1 with my Wake Forest loss. And I have now been eliminated from last man standing because I shoved all 5 entries in on Wake Forest plus the 7.5. But more about that game coming up in Football Friday Part 2 with Joshua Nunn. That will be out coming up a little bit later on this afternoon. As a reminder, each and every Friday, we have not one but 2 episodes for you here on the Better Day podcast feed. Football Friday Part 1, only NFL with Jared Smith, and Football Friday Part 2, which I will have coming up a little bit later on with Joshua Nunn. So make sure you listen to both episodes and get ready for an exciting weekend of football. You can follow Jared on Twitter at JaredSmithBets. You can follow me on Twitter at ScottsOnAir. Jared, I know you'll be on Fox Sports Radio coming up tomorrow. Are you doing Sunday as well, or just tomorrow?
Nope, just Saturdays going forward, unless Jeff Schwartz or Crack decide to take a day off, which might happen. Never know. Maybe they need load management.
There you go. So catch Jared tomorrow. What time?
6 a.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. up till noon Eastern.
There you go. 9 a.m. to noon Eastern, Fox Sports Radio. Catch Jared coming up on Saturday morning, tomorrow morning. I'll be on tomorrow night on VSiN from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Pacific time, talking more NFL preview stuff. So we will both talk to you and see you then. And here's hoping you make today and every day a better day.